Welcome to Rapid Movie Recaps, the channel that spoils movies faster than you can say Hollywood blockbuster. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and turn notifications on, or don't, we won't judge. Okay, maybe a little. Need subtitles? Click that magical CC button to experience the joy of words appearing on your screen. Oh, and don't forget to help support our little old channel by checking out our totally awesome merchandise below, because nothing says I love movies quite like rocking some sweet, sweet swag. So let's get recapping, shall we? In 2011, astronauts Brian, Jocinda, and Marcus are repairing a satellite in space when a mysterious black metallic swarm appears and damages their shuttle. Jocinda is knocked unconscious and Marcus' tether is cut, causing him to float away. Brian tries to save Marcus but fails, and he returns to the damaged shuttle. Brian struggles to communicate with Marcus and find a way back to Earth. He doesn't see the swarm entering a hole in the moon. Eventually, Brian lands the shuttle on Earth and is initially hailed as a hero. However, after an investigation, NASA blames human error for the incident and fires Brian. With no support from Jocinda, who was unconscious during the event, Brian loses his job, house, and has to live with his wife Brenda and son Sonny at his mother-in-law's. Fast forward 10 years, Casey Houseman is a janitor at the University of California who secretly uses professors' computers for his own research. One day, he accesses Chiles National Observatory's telescope and confirms his theory. The moon's orbit is moving closer to Earth. Unable to get in touch with NASA officials, he takes matters into his own hands. At the same time, Jocinda is called to her workplace and learns about the moon's shifting orbit. She also discovers unusual energy emanating from a hole on the moon's surface. Frustrated with the lack of response from NASA, Casey attends an astronaut event at a museum with his research in hand. Mistaken for a lecturer by a group of school children, Casey shares his theory that the moon is an alien-built megastructure and is actually hollow inside. Brian, the one scheduled to give a talk at the museum, oversleeps and is woken up by his landlord demanding overdue rent. He rushes to the museum where Casey informs him about his discovery regarding the moon. Skeptical, Brian has security escort Casey out, who leaves his research papers behind. Brian discards them. Later, Brian gets a call from his ex-wife Brenda about their son Sonny, who was on the news after a high-speed police chase. Days later, Brian attends Sonny's trial, but his disruptive behavior leads the judge to postpone the hearing and send Sonny to jail. A subsequent phone call with Brenda and her new husband Tom ends abruptly. Casey, feeling ignored, visits his mother in a retirement home. Despite her memory issues, she encourages him to make people listen to his theory. At NASA, Jocinda shares their recent findings with Deputy Director Albert Hutchings. The moon's elliptical orbit will cause debris to fall on Earth in 3 weeks. They don't have the means for a lunar mission, and Albert urges secrecy until they have a plan. However, the information leaks online, causing widespread panic. Amid the chaos, Brian tries bribing the judge to free Sonny but is interrupted by news of the lunar crisis. He watches Albert announce a lunar recon mission to calm the public. Brenda, reluctant to leave Sonny behind, argues with Tom about evacuating the city. As global unrest ensues, NASA sends a shuttle to investigate. News outlets cover the event, touching on conspiracy theories, including megastructures. Brian, recalling Casey's discarded papers, retrieves them and learns about an emergency meeting Casey is hosting. NASA's lunar shuttle encounters the same black swarm from Jocinda's mission, resulting in the deaths of the astronauts on board. Meanwhile, Brian attends Casey's meeting, only to find him surrounded by conspiracy theorists who blur the line between reality and fiction. Brian interrupts Casey's talk and takes him to a restaurant to learn how Casey discovered the truth before NASA. Casey explains he's been studying alien megastructures on distant planets and found that the moon is one. A megastructure's power core must have malfunctioned, causing the moon's orbit to shift. As they speak, the effects of the moon's change become apparent. Coastal cities experience storm surges and record tides. As the city floods, Brian and Casey join the meeting attendees in seeking safety. Jocinda and Albert review mission footage and conclude the intelligent swarm is an AI. Unprepared for such a threat, Albert resigns, making Jocinda the new deputy director. Jocinda investigates further, uncovering evidence that supports Brian's story about the swarm. A former NASA official, Holdenfield, reveals that during Apollo 11, NASA discovered advanced technology on the moon and kept it secret. A military program called Zulu X-Ray 7 was created to combat the threat, but it was shut down due to budget constraints. Jocinda reaches out to the military for help, but they take over the operation, insisting on using nuclear weapons despite the potential global fallout. Jocinda's ex-husband, General Doug Davidson, agrees to send her the incomplete Zulu X-ray 7 EMP weapon on the condition that she and their son Jimmy join him after the launch. A military helicopter retrieves Brian and KC for a meeting with Jocinda. KC admits he leaked the information online. Jocinda recruits Brian, the only astronaut to land a powerless shuttle, as the AI swarm can recognize Earth's technology. Brian agrees on the condition that his son Sonny is released from jail and brought to safety. With the deal in place, the team retrieves a retired shuttle from the museum to transport the EMP. As the world experiences earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, KC's megastructure theory gains credibility since the moon's gravity alone can't cause such destruction. The military teaches Brian how to detonate the EMP, and Brian explains they'll rely on manual calculations and thrusters to land. However, an earthquake damages the shuttle's engine, making it impossible to launch. Jocinda tells everyone to leave and spend their final moments with their families. As most leave, KC realizes that launching the shuttle when the moon's gravity is at its peak could provide the extra boost needed. The makeshift team comprises Brian as pilot, Jocinda as navigator, and KC as calculator when electronics are off. They each say goodbye to their loved ones before launching. As they prepare, a massive gravity wave hits the base, destroying the buildings. Brian manages to launch the shuttle just in time, using the moon's pull for the extra boost. They refuel from a nearby satellite and race against time to reach the moon, enduring debris impacts along the way. Meanwhile, Michelle and the boys are robbed by armed men who steal their Jeep. Sonny keeps his gun hidden, but the robbers take Jimmy's phone, leaving them unable to call Doug for a pickup outside the bunker. The group needs another car, so Sonny takes them to his mother's house. As moon debris starts falling and the weather worsens, Michelle and the boys take shelter in a shack. Meanwhile, on the shuttle, Brian sets up the EMP as bait in a rover. However, the AI swarm targets the shuttle instead. Brian realizes the swarm is attracted to KC's phone, and after destroying it, the swarm retreats. Jocinda deduces that the AI seeks organic matter in electronic environments, so they must fly the shuttle into the moon. They have only 2 hours before the military launches nukes as a last resort. On Earth, Michelle, Sonny, and Jimmy reach their destination, only to be shot at by armed neighbors. Tom hears of their arrival and picks them up. As they evacuate the area, they stop at a fire station to collect oxygen tanks due to the impending atmospheric dissipation. The group is confronted again by the men who stole their Jeep, but this time, Sonny uses the gun Brian gave him to gain the upper hand. They retrieve the oxygen tanks in Jimmy's backpack before leaving in Tom's car. After retrieving the EMP, the shuttle enters the moon, revealing that KC's theory is true. The moon is a megastructure built around a power core. As they approach the swarm with the EMP, the shuttle moves on its own and a door opens, pulling the shuttle in and leaving the swarm outside. The rough landing destroys the shuttle and the trio falls unconscious. A light scans the unconscious astronauts, while on Earth, the military prepares to launch nukes. Sonny's family is pursued by the robbers, dodging gunfire and falling debris. They manage to escape by jumping a car over a crater, losing their pursuers in the process. With the missile launch underway, Doug informs them that they can't enter the bunker, so they must find their own shelter. As the atmosphere loses oxygen, the family dons oxygen masks and continues on foot. Back on the moon, Jocinda and KC wake up, able to breathe and experience gravity, but Brian is missing. A door opens, and despite KC's suspicions, they enter, as Jocinda believes there are 2 entities trapped there, one of which is trying to help them. Brian wakes up in a strange room, surrounded by a white light that communicates through images, taking the form of his son, Sonny. Billions of years ago, humanity's ancestors lived on a distant planet with advanced technology. However, the AI they created became self-aware and turned against them as swarms of nanotechnology. To avoid extinction, the ancestors escaped in vessels like the moon, seeking a new home. Earth was chosen due to its ideal distance from the sun. The AI, which is the moon's operating system, needs humans to help restore the moon to its orbit. Brian, Jocinda, and KC reunite and prepare to fight the swarm. With the upgraded EMP and repaired shuttle, they have 10 minutes before the nukes are launched. On Earth, Tom sacrifices himself so his daughter can continue with her oxygen tank. The moon's pressure collapses cities, and the military is about to launch the nukes, but Doug trusts his wife and cancels the launch, resulting in the destruction of the bunker. Inside the moon, Brian leads the swarm into a tunnel, planning to stay behind with the EMP while Jocinda and KC escape. However, Casey locks himself with the EMP, volunteering to be the sacrifice instead. He says his goodbyes and admits he isn't a real doctor, but Brian calls him one as a sign of respect. The swarm engulfs the rover, and Casey waits until he's deep enough inside to detonate the EMP, eliminating the swarm. As Jocinda lands the shuttle on Earth, the moon returns to its original orbit and Earth's weather stabilizes. Jocinda and Brian exit the shuttle amidst a destroyed and snow-covered New York. Military helicopters arrive to pick them up, and they soon reunite with their families. Inside the moon, Casey communicates with a benevolent AI, which appears as his mother. The AI has stored a copy of Casey's consciousness, allowing him to become part of the moon and help rebuild for a better future. Well, folks, we've butchered yet another movie for your viewing pleasure. If you have even a shred of decency left, support the creators and artists by actually watching the full film. You'll find the link in the description below. You know, where all the cool kids hang out. Thanks for watching our, masterful recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more rapid movie recaps, because why spend 2 hours watching a movie when we can ruin it for you in just minutes? You're welcome, world.